This video is going to be my first attempt to summarize every hero from my original superhero universe. Characters I made as a kid, and for the past year have been rebooting, with the dream of taking those simple and unrefined ideas and making them a reality in what might be my most ambitious video yet. Drawing characters in scenes that I've only had in my head until now. And this whole universe centers around my first superhero, Bullet Boy, a character that started as a drawing in my sketchbook. And while he might be the anchor being of this universe, the story doesn't start with him. In order to answer questions like, who is Bullet Boy and how did he get his powers? We have to go back to the beginning, to the parents who accidentally made a superhero kid. Not once, but twice. If you want to watch me continue to build my superhero universe, or learn how to build your own, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Meet Conrad and Whitney McKeen, Bullet Boy's parents. From the very first issue I made as a kid, we learned they are top-level athletes for the United States, and for a living they compete in the futuristic Olympic-style sport called Zero-G Relay. The two met early in their respective careers and got married when they were young, and at the apex of their success, they were pulled into a secret government program as subjects for an untested performance-enhancing serum designed to break records. One test granted the two extraordinary strength, speed, mental acuity, and durability. Maybe you can see where this is going. These abilities would give them an incredible advantage in the already dangerous Zero-G Relay. At first, they rejected this unethical treatment, but they quickly discovered they didn't have an option, and failing to comply would not only jeopardize their careers, but their lives. In the short term, these chemical experiments worked and went undetected by event officials. Everything seemed to go according to plan, and treatments continued, until suddenly progress halted, and their careers were put on hold when they realized Whitney was pregnant with their first child. Britney McKeen isn't just the daughter of two of the world's leading athletes. She also happens to be a metahuman. Unlike her parents, Britney's exposure to G serum rendered her permanently altered by its effects, with super strength, energy generation, and the ability to fly, undetected and unexpected byproducts of her parents' experimentation. You'd think being born with superpowers would be anyone's dream, maybe even the dream of her future brother, but for Britney, that was not the case. From a young age, Britney realized her powers made her unique, different, and went to great lengths to hide them from her teachers, parents, and friends. She found herself stuck at home, trapped with nothing but her thoughts, and a deep desire to find her true purpose, some way to use her abilities for good. So she began sneaking out of McKeen Manor late at night to fight crime, donning the name Whipstar. Over time, her vigilante efforts were noticed, and she became the first hero publicly recognized by the city, and became one of the founding members of the Hero Assembly. We'll talk about the superhero team in a few. With her parents gone all the time for work, you'd think hiding her double life would be easy. The real challenge would be hiding it from others living in McKeen Manor. Meet Hugh, the McKeen's robot butler, the eventual Alfred to Bullet Boy's Batman. Initially, Hugh was hired by Conrad and Whitney McKeen as a temporary babysitter while they were away for competitions. What began as a short-term arrangement gradually evolved into a deeper bond as Hugh became an integral part of the McKeen family. Over the years, Hugh would take on a wide range of responsibilities, from driving Britney to her soccer practices, helping with her homework, cleaning the house, and maintaining the McKeen estate year-round. And his role, for the longest time, while all-encompassing, was manageable, until the arrival of the McKeen's second child. Unlike his sister, Josh McKeen was born years after the experimentation of their parents, so the effects of those treatments didn't have nearly the same effect, and as a result, he was privileged to live an unassuming, normal life growing up. However, all of this would change the summer before high school, when Josh finally sets his sights on his real, burning desire to be more than just your average kid. No more boring homework or chores. Josh wanted to be one of the world's most extraordinary heroes, with incredible powers and a larger-than-life supersuit. If there was a way to become a superhero, or even if there wasn't, he was going to be the one to find out. To nobody's knowledge, Josh's DNA had been altered by the experiments, but only required a catalyst to activate them. It isn't until Josh one day leaves McKeen Manor against the wishes of Hugh and risks his life to save someone that his life changes forever. Suddenly, the dormant effects of the serum in his DNA were activated, granting him the abilities of super speed, durability, and the proportionate strength of a speeding bullet. From then on, Josh as Bullet Boy would spend the remaining days of his summer break learning to use those powers, building new gadgets, and doing his best to save the city from villains of all threat levels, while also selfishly trying to impress the Hero Assembly. They're kind of like the Avengers or the Justice League, each with a unique way of coming upon their powers, and their own reasons to help save the world. It all started years ago, when a 19-year-old Damon DeFalco and his older brother Marcus spent the years after losing losing their parents in a tragic accident, homeless. Marcus, as the older sibling, tried his best to keep morale high and provide for the two of them as they moved city to city. Damon, on the other hand, was emotionally resigned, doing his best to be strong and stifle his grief. Their lives drastically changed when they were recruited by a gang and promised high reward to help them raid a high-security military facility. What they didn't know was this heist was to obtain a device with otherworldly power. When Marcus and Damon get cold feet, the leader of the gang, with his newly claimed prize, double-crosses them. Marcus sacrifices himself to retrieve the tech and passes it to Damon just before dying. Damon wraps his body around the device to protect it, as the gang does everything in their power to take it back. It's in this moment that Damon releases everything. And in that moment, Damon is miraculously transformed into a monster fueled by his anger. From that night on, Damon was never the same. It wouldn't be until months later that Damon would eventually cross paths with Whipstar and begin to form a romantic relationship, his desire for justice acting as a key to harness his emotions. Up next, the Crimson Cardinal, a silent martial arts wielding warrior who has the ability to unleash a sonic scream. But why is the Cardinal his symbol, and where do his abilities come from? Caitlin Walker grew up in the countryside, preferring the stillness and serenity of the open air to company of kids his own age. He felt like his life was ripped away from him when his family suddenly decided to move to the city. Shortly after, his father mysteriously disappeared, leaving Caitlin and his mother with no knowledge of his whereabouts. Struggling with bullies, as he often did, Caitlin found comfort in a red cardinal that frequently visited him on his way home from school, a reminder of the life he left behind. Tragedy strikes when his mother was suddenly murdered in a hit and run, leaving Caitlin alone. It was then Caitlin turned to his only solace. He followed the Red Cardinal's guide out of the city and deep into the woods, where he discovered a hidden cave where a visage of a man in red armor offered him a chance to embrace a legacy of warriors. Accepting the Cardinal's call, Caitlin gained new powers and became the Crimson Cardinal. He now fights crime in the city, driven by the memory of his mother and hoping to find his father. Meet Insect, the team strategist and remote support, responsible for mission research. Her exoskeleton armor grants her flight, camouflage, healing abilities, and access to a neural network of intelligence provided by a once thought to be extinct insect population. During a mission to rescue researchers trapped in an ancient tomb, the Hero Assembly meet a young archaeologist named Luna Martinez. During the incident, Luna has a strange encounter with a mysterious insect species, and after she's brought back to HQ, Luna begins recalling memories and gains access to the interconnected neural network created by the insects freed from the tomb. Grateful for her rescue, she offers her skills to the Assembly, quickly becoming an invaluable asset by managing tech and providing intel. However, suddenly Luna's behavior changes and she becomes a shell of her former self. She starts eating all of the team's food and enters a state of apparent metamorphosis. For weeks, she hung in the headquarters ceiling in a self-made cocoon until she inevitably emerges, transformed into an armored hero. Up next is Aqua-Ray, the team's laid-back, lighthearted, peace-loving ocean dweller. Aqua-Ray's journey as a hero begins when he ventures beyond the walls of the secluded underwater city of Aquara. He'd always been curious about the world outside and decided to explore beyond the treacherous reefs. Despite warnings of human activity, his initial acts of heroism involved protecting citizens of the sea, cutting fishing nets loose, and guiding whales away from oil tankers. The further he got from home, the more fascinated he became with the sights and sounds of the boardwalk. Even though he was forbidden to cross the threshold, he was content to float just beneath the surface, enjoying the warmth of the sun through the waves. However, everything changed when a dark, malevolent force began seeping through cracks in the ocean floor, corrupting wildlife, making them erratic and dangerous. Unable to face this threat alone, and against his better judgment, Aqua-Ray raced to the surface to warn beachgoers of the impending danger. In the scramble, he crosses paths with Bullet Boy, and sometime after this beach episode of an adventure, the Hero Assembly are impressed by Aqua-Ray's abilities and invite him to join the Assembly, but he declines, feeling an innate responsibility to return to the depths and warn his people. The Council of Aquara rejected his warnings and attempted to imprison him on merit of exposing their kind and betraying their secluded way of life. He barely manages to escape and returns to the Hero Assembly, determined to continue to protect Aquara and humanity from any threat, while relaxing and catching some rays, of course. Each of these heroes brings a unique dynamic to Bullet Boy's universe, and hopefully, one day, they'll each have their own comic, leading to an Avengers-style team-up in which the Hero Assembly have to defeat a threat too powerful for any of them to face alone. But when there are heroes, there must also be villains to challenge them. In my next video, we'll explore every villain in this universe and get a real sense of the threats these heroes are up against. Click the video right here on screen to jump into the next adventure. Let me know down in the comments below which of these heroes was your favorite. favorite, or if you've created any of your own. See ya!